Hi, I'm Nadia Jordan.
Hi, I'm Henry Hereford.
And we're with Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.
Everyone, I have the honour and the privilege of the company of Henry Hereford and Nadia Jordan, who are from the For the Love of George film, which is coming out. Well, it's already out, but it's a perfect film for Valentine's Day for people to watch. So I thought we'll have to get together and have a chat and push it out there and get more people watching it, hopefully. So welcome, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Sorry, thank you for joining. It's lovely to see you. I had to watch your film last night myself as well, so I'm up to speed. I texted you. I'm doing my research yet.
Oh no. Yeah, so you enjoyed it then?
I did, yeah. It's definitely I love the storyline for it, and there's some real chuckly moments in there. Whereas obviously both characters, coming through with Stephen back there doing the dirty in the beginning, which is that's the plot line anyway. So I'm not going to give any no spoilers going to come out, which I'll try to keep my mouth shut. But yeah, the plot line was really good, and I did love there was some very dry humour in it, and I think that's probably typically British dry humour in some places where it was just like, oh, that's where I come from, with some of how Poppy would talk, and some of her responses, and things like the Uber driver. That just had me in hysterics, that bit.
It's really interesting, actually, when obviously we've screened it in the US and in the UK, because we had a London premiere at the British Film Institute at the end of last year, and to watch with both audiences, like people in the UK laugh at completely different things to in the US.
Really?
Like some things meant to be funny in the US, nobody gets, and everyone in the UK is laughing, and people are just laughing things that I don't think are funny at all. Why are they laughing at that? It's interesting how, humour is so different on both sides of the Atlantic, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it is. You're right, because I think there is the British sense of humour. I mean, I say this with a few people. It's a very unique sense of humour. I mean, I was raised on Monty Python, Blackadder, and Bottom, Rick and Morty, those kinds of young ones and stuff like that. And so that's where my humour comes from. Which, if you ever read some of my sarcastic posts, you probably find that out quite easily. And obviously, but the Americans, I think the Americans embrace it a lot as well. But yeah, they are. I think some of it's very unique to Britain. That kind of humour, some of that humour, and the American humour,
especially dry humour. I think is very unique to.
Yeah, and I think the self-deprecating as well. We're much better at doing that, I think, than Americans are.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I think I'm the king of self-deprecation as well. Everyone keeps telling me off for it. But
just really don't get that. They're like, why would you? They really don't understand.
Yeah, I've tried it a few times on Twitter, and I've just mentioned stuff, and to me, I look at it and I laugh because that's probably sad, really, that I laugh at my own jokes. But I'll say something about myself, and I'll just think it, like you say, it's funny. Because I'm just like attacking myself, but it's a bit of humour in there, and it's sarcastic. But yeah, I'll get all my American people, listeners and watchers, and they're like, why would you say that? No, this isn't you. This is what you should be doing. Well, I'm like, no, seriously, it's just like over your head. Not to knock Americans, because to be honest, there's some American humour which I find probably goes over my head. Like you say, it's just different people laughing at different things.
Yeah.
Just to throw that in, so I don't alienate half my audience. And
Well, that's what we tried to do in the film, I think. A lot of it. Well, there's a lot of British, obviously, because myself and my co-writer were both British. But I think because of having lived in America for so long, you kind of get an idea of what And there's some things in there that, like I say, didn't go over so well in England that the American humour is kind of relates to more.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, where did you kind of get I was actually looking at this, Nadia, and we spoke pretty much 12 months ago. It was on 25th of February, I think, last year is when we last spoke, so it's almost a 12-month off.
I remember we just had our US premiere, right, because I was talking about that, and I remember I'd just been to a panel of the nominated directors at the Directors Guild, and we're talking about them, and I've just done it again. So I'm like, it must be exactly the same time.
That time of year again.
Yeah. So it's taken us almost a year to get the UK release going, but yeah, it's out now, so good timing.
How do you find that process about getting stuff out? Because I mean, I talk to a lot of people who make independent film and who star in independent films, and sometimes, like, you look on an IMDb credit and you can see something like "For the Love of George 2018," but in reality, I mean, your idea and concept started years ago, didn't it? From when we last talked, and getting it to build up, getting it written, getting it drafted, getting it produced.
Yeah, I mean, it takes. I mean, everyone says scripts take anything 3 to 5 years, but they can take 10 years, 20 years. But with this, the reason it took so long, and I think I probably said this before, but I have no idea what I said before, so I'm just going to talk anyway. But it started as an idea for a TV pilot, and I was trying to find somebody to write up the idea with, and then I think it was 2013 where I had the rough idea for the story, but at the time still didn't know if it was going to be a short or a feature, and then got some money in. I thought, I don't want to make a short. I really want to make a feature, and it just kind of grew and grew. But that was 2013, and then I think I spent a year writing and rewriting the script because of the obvious engagement that happened with George that wasn't meant to happen because he was a bachelor, and that was what the original story was about.
Yeah.
So it took a year to get the script written, and then I think we kind of started getting the funding 2014, 2015, and then went into production 2016. And then the film was finished until 2017, and then we had our US release very early 2018, and the UK one at the end of last year, December. And then around that, we've had a few other, like Mexico and China and some really random places have also released it. And we're still working on the rest of the worldwide release now, but it's definitely a long process. I mean, but honestly, I mean, for me, it felt like a lifetime, but in the grand scheme of Hollywood filmmaking, 5 years is kind of normal.
Yeah.
But, concept to getting something on the screen.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you look at, talking about the animation, like Toy Story and stuff like that, how long it takes them to put something together for a sequel. I mean, even I was talking to Michael Bean a few weeks ago, and he was saying, this is what I sat there basically with my jaw on the floor, because he kept talking about how he drops in that he just goes to the gym every morning with James Cameron, or Jim Cameron, as he calls him, and I was just sitting there going, do you have to rub that name? He's like, he goes, oh yeah, we just talk about it, and he said this Aelita, Battle Angel, that's coming out in Feb.
Oh yeah.
He had the script and everything, the screenplay was written and in his drawer before Titanic came out. And the same with Avatar as well, but apparently he said it's taken that long because he didn't want to do anything. I mean, it's different, but he didn't want to do anything until cinema and technology caught up to do something. But yeah, again, it's a very long time that people have had. James Cameron has had stuff in the bag, so it's 5 years is a good process, but at the same time as what a lot of people I talk to. So and that's a worldwide release on Amazon Prime now as well, because that's where I watched it last night as well.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and iTunes in the UK.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think these platforms. I mean, how do you find that as well with the platforms that are coming out like Amazon Prime and Netflix? Because a few years back, it was only a couple of years ago, these places didn't exist. So for guys like yourselves to get out there and get your films shown, I think would have been it makes it more difficult in a certain way, because for getting worldwide release, for example, on a platform like Amazon or Netflix. So what do you kind of think of those? Is a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good thing, because it's there's so much more content being produced now. You've got so many more opportunities to get your film out, rather than, if it's an indie film like this, they don't always get picked up for theatrical releases. So, there's so many platforms to get your films out now, and that's obviously a good thing. But I would say that especially for worldwide releases, you don't always need like this big distributor or anything. Anything you can kind of more or less. Some filmmakers do it themselves. I mean, we didn't. We had a distributor, but I'm just concerned that the future is going to go the way where people aren't going to go to the cinema anymore. Like everything's going to be at home, and people will get lazy. And I think that would be such a shame. I don't think it will happen, but it's definitely coming more that way. What you say?
Yeah, and I think you definitely get a lot more. The movies you see in the cinema now are the massive franchise, $100+ million movies and stuff. So it's kind of it's a smaller. But having said that, I think there's more work for actors, and I think you find a lot of bigger name actors, especially like, I don't know, in the Oscars and the SAG Awards this year, are doing lower budget projects because they want to be a part of more interesting writing and stuff, which may not go to the cinema. But I don't know. I think it's kind of it means I think you can pull talent if you've got a great script. Maybe they're less bothered about the huge paycheck that they would get. They value the content of what they might get involved in.
I think Netflix is, the whole Netflix platform, things that people are having more innovative ideas, and some of the stuff that's on Netflix you would never ever get on network television in the US.
Oh no.
So you get to see these really creative, quirky shows and things. So that's cool. But I just hope that people can continue going to the cinema.
Well, yeah, I mean, a discussion I kind of have quite often as well is I think it'd be a great idea, because I love independent film, and I actually, in some ways, think independent film, for exactly what Henry's just said and talked through, is the fact, is a lot better than some of the big budget movies, because there's more passion, because you want to do it. It's not for the money, because obviously as much as you'd love the money from a blockbuster, I'm not going to knock that, and I'm sure you'd never knock that opportunity that coming through the millions, But it's the passion, and an independent movie shows it's everyone involved, right from yourself as the writer and the director, the producer, to starring in it and acting in it, and the cameraman. Everyone wants to produce something that they love, and they're all there for one reason, and that's to make something passionate. I'm trying to get the words. it's a piece of passion at the end of the day. It's an independent film from everyone involved, and that shows through the screen.
And I think, as you've said many times, I think now that it is also with technology becoming a lot cheaper and there's more availability to put your stuff out there, it's meant that I think maybe 10 years ago it was to do what you've done, there would be big barriers in the way of people saying you can't do it, like you have to do it like this. But I think now it's a bit more of an open, if you're prepared to put in the work and you're prepared, people are more willing to get involved and read scripts. I don't know, you know what I mean? That may have before been just we're just going to make big, we need a big budget for it. So I think it's enabled. If you want to do it, I think it's just enabled a bit more possible to things are more possible than I think they were before.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think
Right.
let's say there are, like you say, big names will do it. Nicolas Cage, for example, I spoke to a producer once, and he told me that every independent film that comes through, he goes, his name's down on the list because he puts his name forward for everything, because he wants to. He doesn't care about the money, he wants to act, and he wants to put his craft and show his craft. Some of the choices are probably more dubious than others, but but that's the way the cookie crumbles, I think. But one of the things I think would be great in cinema, because to bring people back, is to do that and maybe have independent film nights, maybe once a week or something like that, where they can showcase, like For the Love of George and other independent films, and just have maybe 1 week of the month purely devoted to those. That would be a fantastic idea. To bring, get people back into the cinema and get your films shown on the big screens where they belong, where they deserve to be seen. You put so much effort into them, they are, like say, screenings you have, but that's what I think we should be doing. Yeah,
it's a great idea. Why don't you email some of the big chains in the UK and suggest it? It's right though, because and it would kind of encourage. It would be helpful for them in the long run, because we all know that things are going more towards Netflix and all the rest of it. So it keeps them going if people are able to go and watch all kinds of films at the cinema rather than the just big budget action ones, whatever.
Exactly. One of the ideas I think I came across with as well for like film shorts was to do what they used to do in the old days. So when you go to watch a big blockbuster like Jurassic Park, but you show a film short before the film comes on. So again, you're showcasing everything.
Oh, we used to see the Tom and the cartoon before.
Yeah, like Tom. Yeah, you used to have Tom and Jerry and things like that, didn't you?
Yeah, little thing before. Yeah, you could have a short film.
Yeah, that's another great idea. Yeah. Email them about that as well.
But it's good, because I mean, that's again, and that's why I think what I was getting to with Amazon and stuff like that, because it's a great platform where, to get your things showcased, because so many people are watching it now. And it's a sad fact of life. I think people love to go to the cinema, but for me, for example, every time we go for a family of three, it costs me like £35-40. Yeah. And then I get some little toad sat there on his mobile phone with all the way through it, or talking all the way through, because I just so bugbear. Soapbox, I'll get off my soapbox. But you find that now, I don't know why, but mobile phones, people don't turn them off anymore. They talk all the way through, and it's like you just pay the money to sit there and watch this, enjoy the film, and then you just, you know, you're watching a real horror, for example, and all of a sudden a really bright phone screen goes off and ruins it. I think that's what a lot of people sort of prefer then, to sit in their own living room and do it. Even though my wife talks through half the films and it really annoys me. It's like slap. No, I'm joking.
Pause it and watch the rest of it the next night.
Exactly. You know, if you've had maybe too much wine or something, you're just like, all right, let's finish this off tomorrow.
And that's another reason actually why I like going to the cinema, because if I watch something at home, I don't really pay attention, and I miss half of what's going on, and then you just don't really enjoy. When you're in a cinema and you're just watching it and you're completely focused, that's when I think I enjoy films the most.
No, I agree.
Yeah, no, that is very good. That's very true. I mean, I was just watching Das Boot, the new series, and it's in German. I speak German, so I can understand a lot, but I still need to look at the subtitles for some of it. But you're right, because I'm at home, so I'll be on my laptop and preparing for this, for example. Then I'll look up and realise I've completely lost the plot because I've not been following it, or wandered off and got a drink.
That's impossible.
There's a great show on Netflix called Call My Agent. I don't know. It's French.
Okay.
Again, you can't. You know, you kind of have to sit there. You can't be doing something else.
Yeah.
Oh, you're watching it, which is a good thing. Watch more stuff with subtitles.
Yeah.
There are some fantastic. We can be here all night talking about those, but we're not, because there's loads of fantastic things out there. So bringing it back to For the Love of George, Steve, what drew you to the project, Stephen? Sorry, not Henry. See, now
Stephen Henry, same thing.
Well, we've been friends for a while, and I'd sort of known about. Obviously the process that Nadia were going through, the writing, the rewriting, and then Nadia very kindly asked me if I would play the role.
Okay.
So I was excited to. I'd been at a couple of readings.
Table readings.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'd ever read Stephen. Maybe I had, or.
No, actually, I don't think you. I think
I read a couple of the smaller characters or whatever. But so I thought it was great writing. I thought it was a funny script. It was a great role to play, because you get to play sort of both sides of the the person doing the wrong thing and then trying to make up for it. And it was a great opportunity to play him, because I think he's a fun character. I think it's a lot of people. It's quite interesting because a lot of people would see it and then come up to me, or friends of yours would go, or you know what I mean, want to hate him. But I think you've always got to find a way of making them. I mean, you as the actor can't. You have to find them the light.
Yeah, you do kind of empathise with the character as well. So from watching it myself, you kind of do empathise with Stephen. Even though you do want to hate him because of what he's done, and it's disgusting. But then obviously the way Stephen comes around, I'm trying not to spoil it, but anyone's not seen it. It's very difficult to do that. But yeah,
I haven't spoiled the whole thing.
No. But the way the character comes around, you get a lot of empathy for him, and especially at certain points later on, I felt myself willing things to go right without ruining it. It's very difficult not to spoil things. Might just have to put this thing saying caution spoilers across there.
Yeah.
But so that's really sort of a nice story to hear as well, because that's how it started out, and the fact that you table read for quite a lot of it as well, and ended up being the one who you didn't actually read it and table read.
I think the first time. I think I read 2 table reads, and I think I was David Attenborough, or something in the.
Were you reading the in between the line?
I think I might have done the stage directions once as well.
But I'd always had him in mind to play Stephen, but he was like, well, just see kind of down the line. And so, because I knew that, he could be quite funny and that he would just be great for the role. Fantastic.
Did you choose the other guys as well? Because I think everyone in that film, they're ideal for the role. Say back off. My name. See, this is how bad I am. I've only watched it last night, and the names have escaped me. Is it Justin? Isn't it, the best friend?
Justin, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he sounds so funny.
From Entourage, so I'd kind of known him from that for a long time. We had a casting director, and we would kind of come up with names, and the fact that we got him, it was kind of quite late in the day. We weren't sure if we were going to get a name to play Justin or go for bigger names for some of the other roles. And in the end, I wanted to get as many recognisable faces as possible. And Justin was someone that came along, like I say, much later in the game. So it was really good to get him because he was just so perfect for that role.
He was, yeah. He provided a lot of laughs for me as well. To be fair, because very, very good. Yeah. And that's the thing. You all seem to work and gel together so well. Regarding the character and the concept of Poppy, now, where did you kind of come from? That? Where did you get that idea? I mean, I was going to say, is this based on reality? And but that means you some mad stalker who just fled to LA.
I don't. No, you know what? I think it was just because I just moved to the US and was coming up with this TV idea, and there was going to be 3 different characters in it, and my character was just one part of it. Who was going to play a PR woman and who had a crush on George Clooney and thought she could be his next girlfriend because at the time he was single and he was just always in the press. Who's he going to settle down with? Will he ever be tamed? He's the most eligible bachelor in the world. So that was just one part of it. And that was what the script was written around initially. Poppy believing that she could be Mrs. Clooney, obviously before the engagement and the wedding, that subsequently happened after 22 years of saying he'd never get married. So yeah, it wasn't that I'd ever had a thing for George Clooney, but the rest of the world seemed to, and he kind of just stood for everything that everyone loved. Like, he was funny, he was smart, he was, was this humanitarian that did all these great things, and charming. He was just kind of what most women, like I said, a lot of men I used to speak to about the script, they're like, oh yeah, I love George Clooney, I'd love to be George Clooney, and women wanted to be with him. So yeah, that's why it was him, not because of any personal. I mean, I like him, but not that much.
I've got to say, doing the show that I've done for like 3.5 years now, and again, I'm not going to name people, but there are times when I've come across and had actors on the show, and I found that there are quite a few people out there. I'm just going to say women. There are men as well who actually do get that kind of fantasy, and I keep having to distance myself because people get embroiled with it because they think I know people personally and are friends with them. It's like, I'm not friends with them. I can't ask someone such and such out for you. I've just had them on my show. Then they're not going to marry you. But that's that's why another part which I found so funny, because it is so Poppy's story is so relatable, and there are people who, and I think the whole point, obviously, the reason why Poppy got so, in my eyes, and hopefully this is your eyes as well, otherwise I would have got the whole movie wrong and understood it wrong. But no, is the fact, obviously, that the Poppy's deflecting the hurt and the sorrow of everything that's going on in her life, and that's what she's, it's something focused that she's positive on, focusing out there, and that's what I kind of saw from it. It's a complete deflection and just trying to ignore, like, head in the sand type thing. I'll focus on this because I can't deal with that, and that's where I kind of see it from, and I think a lot of people do relate with that, because even me, there's things I'll focus on. I'll see something and I'll focus on that because, I can't be doing, the mortgage, paying the mortgage. Oh no, it's head in the sand. I'll focus on this. It's nice and a good ideal, a good dream to have. Yeah, it's just it's escapism, isn't it? But like a little bit kind of. I could have shortened all that into that
fantasy. Just take off and go chasing after George Clooney. It's not like it was, anything really serious, or it was just something to take her mind off of Stephen and her own life. Yeah. And go out and just, like you say, forget all about it. But obviously you have to watch the film to find out what happens. But maybe it wasn't just about George Clooney. Who knows? But it's funny, when we were actually when we first began writing the script, and we began with a crowdfunding campaign, and we had a lot of support in England from women who'd been married a long time that could really relate to the story. It's like we were saying, who doesn't sometimes wish that they had a whole life with someone else, or even if you've been married and you're quite happy, married a long time, you can still have this little fantasy about some famous movie star every once in a while. I think a lot of people do. Yeah. So yeah, we had so much from support from women who could really relate to that part of Poppy's story.
That's good as well. It's great that you can, you do reach out there, because you are right. People who in those situations, I can't say too much louder. In those situations, it does happen like that, and it's and yeah. So it's just a highly relatable story, which I think makes it more endearing for people to watch and sort of to take to heart, which is fantastic as well. Sorry, I just got a little frog in my throat there. So kind of, I'm going to ask a question now about who would you love to work with on a completely different, separate time of thing. Who would you love to work with in the future? I'm going to ask this to both of you. Who would be your idea? If you could, in fact, actually, no, I'll change this round. If you could spend one day with someone, and they could be dead or alive, who would it be, and what would you do for the day? Totally random question. It's fine. I'll ask Henry first, since you look.
Yeah. Are we talking about in film and entertainment? Or
entertainment. It doesn't have to be. I mean, if it's someone I know, it would be better. But obviously, it could be if anyone from your family.
This is.
Why don't we stick with who do you want to work with?
That might be an easy one. Who would you like to work with?
Well, I'd probably say like pick a director. I mean, I'd love to work with the Coen brothers and Tarantino, are two people that I would, if I could have a job tomorrow, be either of those rather than, because I think it would work. It says actors, but I like some actors in some roles, and it would kind of depend on, so I think I'd pick those directors, and if I had to pick between them, I'd probably say Tarantino would be someone that I would. Yeah,
that's a fine choice. Tarantino is just he's just visions.
One of my things I love the most, which I think is very unique about him, is the fact that he has, he obviously has a pick of, anyone pretty huge now, but I like the fact that none of his characters are safe. You just never know when one of them, however A-list or whatever they are. And I like the fact that a lot of these actors will just go into the thing and be prepared to, suddenly get murdered in the first 4 minutes or something. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's kind of, that's what I like about it. It's just the kind of like, he has there's no kind of ego, kind of, I guess, in that.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That makes any sense.
No, it does. It does very much so. I actually had one of the people I've had on my show worked on Django Unchained. He was in one of the scenes.
Oh.
He had one of the brothers or something who was killed within 3 minutes of being on screen. But ironically enough, but he was on there, and he said that exactly that. He said Tarantino, he's not big-headed, he's not egotistical when it comes to the film. He would come in every morning with a huge grin on his face and be, "Come on, people, we're making a movie. What are you sat around for? Let's go!" And he'd be like so enthusiastic and that leader that you kind of probably need. You do need at that sort of at that level. But they just said he was very filled with personality. That's a great choice for that. And how about you, Nadia?
Yeah, I mean, now he's I'm just going to with that, because who wouldn't want to work with Tarantino? But I went to a Q&A with him, which was just so interesting. Like we were saying, he's such a character, but people were talking to him after. I was kind of too shy to go, but all I could think about, because I'd just seen him on American Idol, and he was one of the panel of the judges. But he was so into it and so excited by everything. Yeah. Like they should make him a permanent judge, because he was just so.
Did he just do it for that one episode?
Yeah, he was like a guest judge, but he was just so he's just. I don't know, just his character, his personality is so unique and just so lovable. I mean, he was just so into it. He'd get up and he'd be shouting and be so excited by these performances, but it was genuine. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you get some of these guests trying to play Simon Cowell or whoever else, and it doesn't work. But I was like, all I could think about, which was great on American Idol, which might not have gone to a serious film. But so Tarantino, obviously. But I mean, one of my favourite directors is David O. Russell. Mm-hmm. Silver Linings Playbook, Boxer, what was it, The Fighter, what was the other one he did recently? American Hustle, yeah. Just because I've seen a couple of talks with some of the actors he's worked with and with him, and actually I also met him, and he was really, really lovely. I hear he's honestly a bit of a nightmare to work with. But I just love the characters in his films.
Yeah.
One has always said he's an actor's director, and I can't remember if I even said this last year or not, but I was at he'd just done The Fighter, and I was listening to Amy Adams talk about they were doing a table read. David O. Russell sat there, and while she's reading the script, he would be sending her texts saying, "You're walking, it's night, it's like, giving it he just gets really, really into it because he's a writer as well, and he just writes these really great characters for actors.
Yeah.
But I just also saw a talk with Peter Farrelly recently, who directed Green Book, and he just seems like the nicest man in the whole world. As a director, he sounds like, great, absolutely great to work with. As an actor, one of my favourite actors, I think, Christian Bale. I just think he's brilliant. He can just do anything. So, what do you think of him?
No, I do. I do like him. He's good. Yeah, don't worry. I was just thinking he's a Welshman. He's from which is a lot of people don't actually realise that Christian Bale is a Welshman.
He's got a very London accent, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. But I don't think a lot of people don't think he realise he's British either, let alone Welsh.
No.
But I also think going on, sort of slightly going back to what we were saying before, and it sort of ties into this, is like I think with these new platforms and stuff, I think it's enabled a lot of actors to show another side of themselves. And someone that I think of, you just mentioned Amy Adams, who I think is a phenomenal actor, but I think she's been able to show, I don't know if you saw Sharp Objects, which was a mini series that she did recently. And I think it was on Amazon. No,
it was on
HBO.
HBO, yeah.
But that was I've never seen her before, and it was a phenomenal performance. And I think we're starting to see that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so then I think a lot of actors are able to because there's not so much they're able to do smaller things, but be able to show that they're more diverse in their acting than perhaps what the first job was, which led to the next job. So now they're in a place where I could try this out.
Yeah, they're quite happy to. Yeah, I mean, they're happy to explore and learn, and because I think that's something that the day you stop learning is the day you die. At the end of it, because you always learn something new, and like you say. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying that, and people often, they know that, that everyone's grateful for the first breaks they get, and so there's people then see, you want to keep working, so you follow that. But I think there's just a bit more opportunity now for people to go, actually I can do this, and give me the opportunity to do it. And so I think we're seeing more and more of that.
Like Julia Roberts apparently has given up film now and is just doing television because she's into it. Yeah, whether it's true, but I mean she quoted that. So
well, even Jim Carrey.
Another good example of that is Big Little Lies. I don't know if you have that in England yet. I mean,
I think that's been out.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman and Reese Witherspoon and
Laura Dern,
Shailene Woodley.
Yeah,
that's another brilliant series that was also on HBO here, wasn't it? It was actually the same director as Sharp Objects.
Right.
But these series that you'd never, a long time ago on network television, you'd never have seen if things not progressed in the way they have.
Yeah,
and films
definitely.
Like those kind of A-list stars would never do to television.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I just saw on my Facebook today an actress friend of mine with selfies because she's just landed she's with Emma Thompson and Emilia Clarke. And again, they're two major, and they're doing another British show, which is because just going out. I don't know if it's an independent one or not. I'm not sure actually. But again, it's just one way. Like you say, you get a lovely mix because people are they're learning and honing their craft. Is what I want. I think that's the word I was trying to think of. Honing their craft. Honing your craft. Sorry, that's Samuel Jackson. This is a story I loved because I had a look. Actress there's a film called Cell. Don't know if you've seen it or heard of it. It was.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's about mobile phone. A very good plot line. But Samuel Jackson was in it with this girl, and her brother died in the film. And again, this is just how the synergy of what I love about how you guys obviously work on set as well. So she went back for the brother. It was a spur of the moment, ad hoc thing. She thought, well, my character would go back to look at my brother one more time before I have to leave him forever. And she turned in the thing. She's walking away, and she just turned to go, and felt this massive arm clamp her, and just hold her and turn around. And goes, no, You don't want to do it. Remember him how he was. And it was just like, that's the synergy which, that sends goosebumps down me, thinking there's a synergy between actors on set where you can tune into each other so well that even though she just did this spur of the moment, he knew exactly what her motives were and what she was aiming to do, and they kept it in the film in the end because it worked so well. And I find that with, I think there's a lot more freedom for independent films to do things like that, where you can use your own creative influences. And I'm sure, Nadia, you've let, like I said, Henry and everyone else, put your own. How much did you let guys put their own creative influence on? I was going to say, I'll rephrase that one. How did you let anyone do that, or were you a control freak?
Yeah, the thing with because we were an indie film, we had an incredibly short shoot, so we only had 15 days to shoot that whole movie. So there were some characters that improvised quite a lot. Say Luke. He went off script quite a bit, and it was fine because it worked, and he was very funny, and for him, and he was constantly making me laugh. So for the relationship, it worked really well. There were other things where people would change lines. I'd be like, "Why you change that line?" And it's fine if you've got the time to play around, and it works. But if it's not working, and then it's like, "Come on, clock's ticking. Let's stick to the script." But ideally, because I've also been directing quite a bit recently. I think if you have the ability to do it, then let actors improvise. I think that's, a really good, you can get some really good stuff when they're not necessarily following the lines or saying things to the letter. When you've got good actors, then it can be really great.
Yeah. I think it kind of depends on the kind of, I've been on stuff before, and, if you've got one word wrong, you've got a tap on the shoulder. So you need to, because there's someone with the script making sure you have. But that's important, because if certain things are meant to happen, you try to, but I think it depends on the project, and and I think how close you are. Some television comedy, you can't really. Those writers have spent a long time writing that stuff. So in the audition, you'll be told where that you've added an in there.
Basically, if the writers are in the room, then you have to do exactly what's on the script. Especially, like you're saying, more in television. In film, I think there's a bit more wiggle room, but there's some directors like Martin McDonagh, who did 3 Billboards. He will not let you change a word, because he wrote it as well. He's very strict about, you have to say exactly what is on his script. And there's something. I directed a film recently which had like an older man and a little girl, and he said, is it okay if I change some of the lines? I said, yeah, as long as they're more or less right. But then he would change them, and when you're working with children, it would throw her off because she wasn't getting her cue. So it just really depends. But I think it's always good to have some improvisational scenes, because sometimes they're the ones that always work the best and will stay in the film, and biggest surprises.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes hard to tell, but sometimes it's easier to tell, because I think it was actually one of the Star Wars films, and it was Rogue One, where I can never remember his name either. One who played K2SO, the big robot. In one of the scenes, he slaps Captain Hassie. I can't see that. My mind, I'm really a knowledge of film. For some reason, I've just gone completely blank. But he slaps him around. He slaps him around the face. But you can actually see the still where he's got his hand. The other guy's got his hand over his mouth, and if you look closely, you can't tell. But if you look closely, you can actually see him laughing, because it was completely ad lib, and he hit him way too hard across the face. And he just burst out laughing on set, because it was just and they kept it in the end, and it does work. And it's only if you know about it and then look, you can actually see the other actors just crying with laughter underneath his hand, because it was just perfectly timed. And so that's, maybe that things like that ad libbed in a Star Wars film might not be as good. And I think Jim Carrey was one of the worst ones, wasn't he? Or the best or worst for Man on the Moon, for the way because he really got method. Didn't he? And I think he's just ad-libbed pretty much the entire film, from what I've understood. Which is quite. I can imagine how hard for yourselves, like yourself, Stephen. Stephen, say it again, Henry. I do apologise. This is the bane of my life as well. I went to Comic Con in December, and there was an actor I met there, Jeremy Davies, and he played the main character I've seen him in was in this show. And I was so excited about meeting him, I just kept calling him the character, and he goes, "No, it's Jeremy." I said, "Yeah, I'm Chris, nice to meet you." And I was like, "Oh, you..." Yeah, I don't... Yeah, so it's... Never mind. But yeah, so going through there, it's what those kind of experiences you have of ad-libbing and things, it's just... I think it can work, and like you say, sometimes if you've got a 15-day shoot, then yeah, maybe not so much, because you need to, the lighting's got to be right for a certain shot, so you just can't wait around for someone just to do their own thing.
I mean, Kristen Johnston, who plays the psychic, there are a couple of things. She'd always throw a couple of lines in at the end of her take, and actually 2 of them that she said are still in the film. So the bit right at the end of the psychic scene was her lines. She's very, very, very funny.
Yeah, I saw some of the outtakes at the end. I saw them coming through the credits.
That's my favourite. I shouldn't say this. That's one of my favourite parts, the outtakes at the end. I love those.
Yeah, they were very good. There's the perfect out. I'm not going to again ruin it, but the part of the outtakes with you two together, that was just it was just the constant. It's like you couldn't keep a straight face. Yeah, it's just got to fit the giggles. Excellent. So, where kind of obviously now, but with the film out, it's been out in the States for over a year. It's just come out in the UK and, like you say, the other places, China and... Where was it? China,
Hungary, Mexico, and Israel. Currently, quite random.
It says that's where it's released at the moment. Obviously, people can watch it on Amazon Prime, and I highly recommend that you do. Have you got any more plans? I mean, no sequel for Papi. Maybe you can carry it on.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, for a while I was always like, oh, Brad Pitt's single now. But we all know how that worked out with George. So no, I think that one's laid to rest for now. I'm working on a couple of films actually that I'm going to produce and direct, features, and from an acting perspective, I'm about to do a pilot. So quite a lot going on. How
about you, Henry?
Well, most recent thing I did was I did a television sketch show in Australia. It was very exciting because that was actually the 3 women who were the creators of the show actually became... Well, they got the series because they did a viral video called Activewear, which I don't know if you ever saw it. It went insane. It's about taking the piss out of people going to the gym, not going to the gym, wearing active wear.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, so then they got a series of that. So I was very lucky to be a part of that down there, and I'm currently working on helping produce another movie with someone else who has is producing it. So we'll see. So it's kind of trying to get into that side and just see what happens.
Fantastic. And the Australian sketch show, is that one that we might be able to see over here?
I don't know. Or
is it one that we might have to sort of...
on the ABC.
Yeah.
It's called Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am. So okay. I don't know. Maybe it's definitely... There's a lot of the sketches. They released every week. Before they would release one that was in the show online. Okay. So you can definitely, if you Google Activewear, you'll get to see where it started.
All right, okay, I shall do. I'm sure I'll probably get a lot of other images as well. Yeah. Just be careful what you Google, especially in work.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. So, is there, I mean, I've got to sadly draw this, I think, to a close now. But I've got a question. Now, this is a signature question, and I do apologise for you. I'm going to apologise in advance, because whether you like it or not. You've done this one, haven't you, Nadia? You must have...
I don't know. What is it?
This is a very stupid question, but it's one that stuck with me. I had a guy who was a Muppeteer for 30 years, or he still is, with Jim Henson. So you've had his hand...
I don't have to do it again. It's Henry's turn.
Yeah, it's he's...
What Muppet?
Yes, what Muppet would you wear? If you could have a Muppet...
That's really easy.
I know who you'd be. See who you're going to say.
I would be Ralph.
Oh, yeah. Piano player.
I would have said one of the 2 old men in the box.
Maybe in a few years. But yeah, no, I actually had a mug with Ralph on it. when I was younger.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I liked the dog best.
Yeah.
Of course, I think it's Piggy. No comments, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, now Henry, now since she's chosen Miss Piggy, and you've worked with her, and you know her, so you've friends with her for such a long time, is that the truth?
Well, there aren't that many female Muppets, are there? I haven't watched it recently. Hopefully they've...
No, but I could have been a male. I could be a male Muppet.
It could be male Muppet, it could be anything.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah, I can... Yeah. Where's the Cookie Man? That's in Sesame Street. The
Oh,
Cookie
you can
Monster.
I had some of the guys from SEAL Team. You know that show SEAL Team?
Yeah.
It's on, I've had a few of those guys on. And they're so in sync. I mean, they're in sync on the show anyway, because that's got 300 veterans actually work on that show. They've got Navy SEALs in the writing room, in the makeup, really in depth. But the actors are so in tune with each other as well. That all three of them came out of the same character, pretty much. And it was the Grouch in the can. Remember little Grouch? He was a Sesame Street character, but yeah, that's why it reminded me of that one.
I haven't seen, but there must be. I haven't seen the Muppets for a long time. There must be new ones.
I think it must be new ones. I've not seen either apart from the film.
Big
Bird, Sesame Street.
Yeah, but they said Sesame Street, so...
Yeah, Sesame Street's good. Or Fraggle Rock.
Oh, yes.
Who?
Fraggle Rock.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what any of their names were. Though.
Gonzo, you could
be. Oh, Ralph the dog.
Yeah, Ralph the dog, yeah. The cool piano player.
Yeah, I remember him.
Fantastic. Yep, so that's cool. And before I close the recording, is there anything that either of you would like to say to people who are listening and watching?
Go and watch For the Love of George, because it's really, really, really good.
Yes, what she said.
And I echo it, so that's the third. I third that.